Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. What's going on, guys? Man, gonna do a video right now on how Hollywood works. You know, I've worked in Hollywood. I worked film and television. I've worked for major studios. I started like straight up at the bottom watching pylons and parking lots and grew to doing locations and location scouting, which basically you just find places, take pictures, and be like, is this good? And then if it's good, then they shoot the video or the movie or the TV show there. And then set design, where I was doing that. It's called set work, set deck, decorating the sets and stuff. Grip work, which is basically setting up lights and, different stuff like that. If I had to get into it deeper, but I've worked in it and I know exactly what it feels like. And it's the same reason why when I'm talking to my buddy, various comedians, and we're talking about whatever big comedian, and we're just talking about all the stuff going on in Hollywood. I always say there's no one to look up to, man. Because when you start creating, there's all these people that you look up to, right? You're like, oh man, Casey, nice stat, and this and that, and you're naming all these people, and Dave, and this and that. You're naming all these people from all these different walks of life, and you're thinking these are the people to look up to. And slowly, as you get into the industry, and I do stand up as well, there's that area of Hollywood entertainment as well. I mean, you start to look around, there's no one to look up to, And then years go by and all the stuff that's unfolds, Diddy's like going home soon or something like that. And then you realize they're all the degenerates. And then you see the symbolism and you're like, what is this? I did a podcast with a dude who's an occultist, and even he was like, Hollywood's disgusting. I was like, I thought you'd be right along with these guys. And he was like, what? He's like, no. He's like, they worship debauchery. They worship the epitome of evil. I was like, what? This dude had a pentagram on his hat and he's looking at me saying that. I'm like, that's how bad Hollywood is. That people who have pentagrams on their hats are like, that's absolutely disgusting what they're doing. Are you kidding me? That's how bad it is, man. The mentality is even worse. That's the thing. The stars that you see, they're not exactly what they look like. They look like they're really big stars. They look like they're really something monumental. But you know what I compare it to? Back in the day, Paris Hilton, she used to have, like, I remember seeing it. It was like a dog, her little dog. Let's go, Paris Hilton dog house purse. Yeah, you heard that right. It was a crazy looking purse that she had, and it was just a dog house, but it was a purse. Where is it? Can I find it? Damn, I can't find it. I guess that's something like that. Nah, I can't find it. It was a ridiculous. It was like the size of a dollhouse, and it was just her purse. It was just like where her dog stayed, But I mean, just for the example, I mean, most celebrities are this. Let me just pull this up here. You can't load. Why can't you load? As soon as I'm trying to make a point, you can't load. All right. Well, I was going to say most celebrities are this. Not her. Most celebrities are this. And what's holding them is this big corporation. It's like, it's not even just one person. It's managers, talent agencies, publishers, just assistants, PR people, all this big machine that just holds them like this. And they're just like that. I'm telling you, man, they're not to be looked up to at all. And that's just what we can see. You know what I mean? I didn't go to any weird parties or anything. I'm not a fly on the wall and, with Harvey Weinstein, all that weird stuff. That's just the part we can see. The part that we hear and they speculate about and there's cases about. It's even worse. I'm telling you, man. How many guys, how many rappers went and hung out with Diddy? Who knows? But you know what we do know? His wife at the time would be with different guys and she would take what they would give when they're done in that act, and she would take it into another room and rub it on his nipples. What? Are you kidding me? You think a guy who has that going on with as much power as he did, you think he wasn't taking rappers? You think he wasn't taking rappers out back? Think he wasn't taking basketball players out back? You think he wasn't taking like mayors and stuff of New York out back? How do you think he got the key to the city? How do you get the key to the city? He hasn't even done that much. For the community, for the city, he hasn't done that much at all. How do you get the key to the city? How do he get the key to the city? Donald Trump doesn't have the key to the city. How does that make sense? Because he's getting people in these weird positions, man. I mean that in all ways you can possibly think of. Yeah, I was listening to this here, and Adam Carolla. It's funny, somebody was hating on me in the comment section of my other channel, my bigger channel. And they're like, you could be our Adam Carolla. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And then later on, I stumbled onto this clip. And I was like, maybe this is what they're talking about. I don't know. It's funny. Even the haters can teach you things. But listen to his depiction of Hollywood.
Both coming up metaphorically. And we got the Chiefs and we got the Eagles in it. And at some point, somebody goes, who do you like? And you go, I like the Eagles. And someone goes, yeah, not a good, wrong answer. And then you go, why? And they go, well, the guy's casting the movie and the guy's directing the movie and the guy, Ted Sarantos, is married to a Chiefs fan. So the guy who runs Netflix, wife is a hardcore Chiefs fan. And then you go, oh, but I like the Eagles. And they go, yeah, I know, but his wife is a huge Chiefs fan and Ted, he's not going to hire an Eagles. And then next thing you know, magically, 100% of Hollywood is a Chiefs fan. And you go, well, how could that happen? I mean, how did 100% of Hollywood come down on, if you took the 10 bullet points of COVID, whether it was where it emanated from, was it a lab, was it a wet market, do masks work, does social distancing work, does ivermectin work? If you took all 10 of those, Hollywood was 10 for 10 on every single one of them. Nobody in Hollywood went, I think ivermectin's a good thing. They're cowards, they're hypocrites, they're pussies, but they're also vying for a job that they don't have. You have to be popular. You're not going to get a job. They'll throw you out. They don't need you. They don't need anybody in Hollywood.
But it also seems like they actually believe what they're saying. I mean, you have these
they're
things
actors.
where like the Zoom thing with like all of these actors telling you, put on your mask and do this and do that.
Yes.
And I don't even have a strong opinion on COVID, but it was interesting that it seemed like they're so passionate about it. They go to these awards ceremonies, and when they have the mic finally in their hands, they go and they want to share their political agenda. And I'm like, well, I feel like no one's forcing you to do that.
Let's go back to Ted Sarantos and Netflix and his wife, who's a huge Chiefs fan, right? You could say, I'm an Eagles fan, and tell Ted and tell his wife I'm a huge Eagles fan, in which case you'll never get another job. Or you could say, tell Ted and his wife, who's a Chiefs fan, I don't really like football. Like, I'm agnostic. Like, I don't really care who wins the Super Bowl. Okay, maybe you get a job, maybe you don't get a job. Or you could go get a Chiefs jersey and wear it to the next party that Ted and his wife invite you to, and then do a little soliloquy on how much you love Patrick Mahomes, and then you would get a job. Or at least your chances of getting a job would go up a lot more. So when you see these people making their proclamations, if you are just silent,
100%. That is exactly how it works. I'm telling you, I've worked it. It's there. You know what's happening when you're working film and television? I'm sure it's even worse for actors. It was bad for us too. You're vying for a job that you don't have. Even when you're on the job, you've gotten work. You're on a movie. You're working for the next few months. That whole time, every interaction is you campaigning for more work. That's it. That's all it is. Even though we're a part of this union, I'm a part of the Directors Guild. I'm a part of the Film Workers Union. I'm a part of these unions. It's still like that. There's no guarantees. They'll call you and whatnot. But let me tell you something. You say you do what he's saying. You do something wrong. And that union that's supposed to call you when something opens up, they just won't call you. Because somebody who's like a team lead or a key or whatever will be like, you know what? Nah, not that guy. Well, next guy. I want this guy. And in fact, if you do what he said on the positive side and you say, hey, I'm a Chiefs fan. Oh, I've always loved the Chiefs. This is the greatest team ever. And you start crying about it and everything like that. You do that whole over the top acting thing. Then the keys, they will actually call you. They will make sure that when they contact the union, they'll say, I want this guy. Yeah, I want Colin. Yeah. That's the guy I need. I need him. If he's open, that's the guy I need. I don't want it to go through a whole list of people. I'm reaching down and I want that guy. And now you have a lot of work, right? And it doesn't just go for your stance on things politically. It also goes for what you're willing to do behind closed doors. That's a real thing too. It's a real thing. There's been court cases about it. There's a dude in jail right now because of it. Another dude was about to go to jail. He's going home because of things like that. One guy is gone, and apparently he was a hoax the whole time, and he never really did anything, and his partner's in jail for no reason. We've seen this. It's a real thing, man. They really want you to do that. So you're constantly pushed into a position where you have to say yes to everything, and no becomes the most negative thing possible, which is why you'll see Colbert dancing around, and he's dancing around with a bunch of syringes, and he's like, ha, 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 ha. And he's telling the president to go F himself. It's not because he doesn't really believe in any of that politically. It was the thing to do. And he's working for a company that has this political leaning. And they're like, wouldn't it be great if Steven did that kind of thing? And Steven's just doing it because Steven's getting paid $16 million a year. So of course he's doing it. I'm sure the first year he started, because it always happens like this, he's probably getting paid a couple mil. We don't really, it's a good opportunity for you, Steve. I mean, you're not on the Colbert anymore, and there's no things going on. I mean, I think this would be a good opportunity, steady work, and you'll be a part of the late night history. Don't you want that? That's how it starts. And then he's willing to do the things. He's willing to say the things. And then when negotiations come up, they say, okay, how about $5 million for a couple of years? And he's still willing to do the thing. And he's dancing around with syringes and stuff and all that stuff. And then they're like, you know what, Steven? How about $10 million? He knows why he's getting it. He knows the little nudges that he's getting. He knows how to walk the line. And that's why it ends up like that. And that's why you see all these actors always doing things like this. Yeah. Like Adam hit it on the head. How are they all aligned all the time? It's because there's a few people who are kingmakers and they just say, this is the thing I like now. And they go, okay. If they say, the people at the top go, Orange Man bad. And they all go, Orange Man is bad. You know what? I've always hated Orange Man. You know what? I hated him the most. I never liked him, even when people did. How about that? I'm going to leave the country. I'm also going to leave the country. You remember that? And then you ask yourself, why didn't they leave the country? Because they're just saying things. They're just saying whatever. Because you know what happens also? It's not just them. They're meat puppets. The actors are just meat. People in the industry, they're just meat puppets. They're just doing what they're trying to do, you know? They're just constantly groveling, trying to get jobs. They're meat puppets. Even when they're big actors, larger than life, you look up to them, your favorite movies, they're meat puppets. That's all they are. They just do pretend. That's it. But there's another layer to it as well. When it comes to this whole thing, you know, they also, I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to talk about another layer of what they have to do to get jobs. You know, this is happening right now on this podcast, and this is my smaller channel, so it's okay. But I'm always working myself into a state of anxiety where I think about possibly getting on Joe Rogan's podcast one day and this happening. And if it does, I'm just going to get up and leave. It's the most terrifying thing to me. There's nothing more terrifying than just talking and just forgetting. And then the other person has to just pick up the pieces of your shattered mush brain, you know? Sorry to put that on you guys. But anyway, the whole thing of Hollywood, it's so debaucherous, you know, at the end of the day. You know, that's the real stuff that happens. And I'm so glad to be out of it. You know, I'm so glad I got kicked out. You know how I got kicked out? I was on this movie, and this dude, I was working with this dude for the first time, and this dude was like known, right? Working on this movie, this dude's like known. He's my boss. And this guy's doing drugs. Like all the time. All the time he's doing drugs. I didn't know at first. He just seemed like a cool guy. He always wanted to like smoke joints with me and stuff. But I was like, I'm not somebody, I don't smoke on the job. And it's not because I'm an angel. It's because back when I used to smoke, I'd like to sit. I'm not somebody who likes to smoke and do things. I want to lay down after. That's just how I am. So I'd be like, nah. So I didn't realize how much he was doing. He was doing it all the time. And it got to the point where he wasn't just doing that. He was doing other stuff too. And he was sleeping late. And he was in the middle of a divorce. And this is how Hollywood works, because everybody's getting divorced all the time because you're working 18-hour days. And no logical person who's not in film and television is going to put up with this. Lucky for me, my wife was in the restaurant industry. She was my girlfriend at the time. She was in the restaurant industry. I was in the film industry. We understood wild hours. So we were fine with it. And we would always talk. But this guy's in the middle of a divorce, right? He's getting divorced. It was crazy. Now, he's my upper boss. The guy lower, who's the assistant to him, he brought his girlfriend onto the job. She's working directly with me. They are fighting like nothing I've ever seen. Like Diddy when he was fighting his girlfriend at the elevator. Like they're just ridiculously fighting. I actually recorded it once because I was like, I'm going to need evidence because this is crazy. I'm like, something's going to happen. So they're fighting. The boss is doing drugs. It's getting crazy. I'm the only one working. I'm working with these kids. You know, we get kids from the neighborhood, because when you do a film and you're just in some neighborhood, everybody in the neighborhood hates you. They hate the person who rented out their house to you. They hate you. They don't want you here. It's like construction, but terrible. It's like the construction, but everybody's a degenerate and everybody is entitled, you know? It's just terrible when they come to your neighborhood. So we'd always get the young people of the neighborhood to work with us. And then they could go to doors and, you know, it'd be like a liaison type of thing with the community, you know? So I just have them. That's it. The girlfriend doesn't have to work. She's able to do whatever she wants. She just screws off whenever she wants. The guy's so stressed out. That's the boyfriend. He's gone. Old guy too. He's gone. By the end of it, the guy's walking with a cane. No idea what happened to him. Somehow he fell, messed up, this, that. And on top of that, his son's going through a bunch of stuff. He says his son tries to off himself. I'm like, what is this? It was the worst thing ever. So this guy, the top boss and the lower boss, they're both disappearing. One can't really walk. The other one's on drugs. So it's all left on me because the girlfriend is just insufferable to everyone who interacts with her. I'm not even making it up. Everybody didn't like her. And she knew it too. You ever meet one of those people where they know no one likes them and they're just like, I don't care. I don't care. She was one of those people. It was wild. So it was terrible. So terrible. So I have to do the job of my job and their jobs as well. So it got really, really hard. It got to the point where I was in tears. I remember I was in front of this woke lady, the production manager, and I'm like in tears. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. You know, I also don't want to say the situation. Everybody knows he's on drugs, but nobody's willing to do anything about it. You know why? Because he's high up and he knows producers. And that's part of the Hollywood conditioning. He knows producers. So no one wants to step in and say, hey, don't be like this here. Oh man, it was such a wild job. And it got to the point where he started taking the kids. They were like teenagers, but he started taking them and getting high with them. He started taking them out and doing stuff with them, you know, getting them drunk and stuff, all sorts of stuff. It was crazy. Guy's just wallowing. Can't see his kids. You know, he's getting divorced. He's wallowing, getting them drunk, getting them high. You know, there's a girl. I don't know how old the girl was, but he ended up taking her to his hotel room. I mean, this is just what you hear about Hollywood that they say are just theories. It's just tinfoil nonsense. It's 100% true. It's 100% true. I don't know what he did with that girl. I have no idea. You know, those young guys, they just told me that she went with him to his hotel. And I was like, okay, I don't get it. But, you know, and then one of them actually told me, real quiet one. He's like, I just want to tell you, this guy's been making me roll joints for him. And I heard him talking to that girl. And he said he knew a bunch of producers and that he could get her into the acting world because she's trying to become an actor. He's like, and then that night they went off together. And he broke it all down for me. I was like, this guy's a dirtbag. This is crazy. Then on top of that, he's leaving more work for me. The other guy's using a cane to get around. He's not even showing up to the sites. When he does show up, he's just there for a little bit, completely stressed out. Never seen a man more stressed out. Terrible girlfriend. On top of that, he's trying to keep his son alive. Wild situation. I had sympathy for that guy, right? Now I'm just trying to do the job. It was so hard. And I was so far from home. It was terrible. They keep you far from home. It's another thing that they do. Another weird mentality thing. Not only do they keep you for long hours, but if they can, they'll put you up in hotel rooms and it keeps you away from your family if you have one. It's weird. You're just around them. It is very cultish. That's why you see it operate like a cult, because they actually do operate like one. It's very odd. There are some actors that you see, you know, The Rock. I think I brought this up before. In 2016, The Rock was scheduled to be in movies up till 2026. He just had all his movies laid out for 10 years. For 10 years. Like he doesn't really get to do, you don't really get time off in that time. And if you do, it's like a month here, a month there. It's crazy. I remember one time I met Joaquin Phoenix. He was coming to see his wife because his wife's on a movie. He's in a movie. At the time, we didn't know it was the Joker he was doing. He comes to visit her, sees his son for a couple hours, then he has to go back. And then he's just gone and she's gone. And we were on that movie for like 4 months. Like, that's the life. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I haven't even put on my tinfoil Speedo towards the actual brain manipulation these people go through, because there is some of that too. I could get deep into that if you want, but I won't not right now. But it's like, they brainwash them. in weird ways. But yeah, man, it was a terrible, terrible movie. And it got to the point where the head boss, he knew what I was doing. He knew everybody knew. So he called one of his guys. His guy was like a biker type. And now it was getting to the point where they were threatening me a little bit here and there, like little nudge threats, which happen in the film industry. It's actually not that abnormal. And they're doing drugs together. They're leaving huge messes for me, as like sending me a message that like I'm gonna do the work, and like there's nothing I can do about it. And it was just, whew, it was crazy. So after that, everybody can see what I'm dealing with. Everybody knows how terrible these guys are. This whole group of people that I'm worked up with, like I'm shacked up with here. Everyone can see it. So the last few days, I just leave. Because it got to a point where they had set something up in terms of things for me to clean up, like a huge truck, just everything ripped out of a truck and just laid on the ground. And then I would have to clean that up. It would take like 3 hours. And I would have been at this place until like 3 a.m. And I was like, oh, I can see what they're doing. And there was like a car set up. It was like gang stuff. Like I have street smarts. This was like a setup. It was a weird thing. There's just a car watching me over there. They're just watching me. They know that I have to clean this up. They're waiting till everybody leaves. I'm like, I know how this ends. This ends with me hurting two little guys, because it's like one guy's a little brown guy, the other guy's a little white guy. I'm like, I'm going to hurt these guys. That's what's going to end up happening. I'm going to be the bad guy. So I was like, I'm gone. I just left. That same day, same night, before I even get home, I get 5 calls from 5 different people, all telling me I'm not even working with them. Like you don't work with somebody specifically when you're in film and television. You're just on a crew, and sometimes you know the people and sometimes you don't. I get 5 different calls from people saying, oh man, like I just can't work with you anymore, man. Same thing. They got the call. Are you with the Chiefs or are you with this team? Which team are you with? They got the call. Can't work with you, man. And I'm like, oh, it's because of this guy, right? No. It has nothing to do with that. People just said, they were just saying you're unprofessional, and you know. And I was like, okay. And it was 5 different people, 5 different departments. And I was like, okay, that's what's happening. And that wasn't even my last film. The last film, that same guy who was injured, he's actually a pretty good guy. He calls me up after and he says, I want to make it up to you. He's like, I brought you on that terrible show. He goes, I brought you around coke addicts and all sorts of stuff I didn't know. He goes, I got a real slow moving movie. We're in 2 locations. That's it. He goes, you can just spend time in your car, call your girl. He's like, I just want you to be there. I want to make it up to you. And that was it. That was the last movie I was on. It's called Women Talking. It actually won an Oscar. It was great. Terrible premise for a movie, though. I'm not even going to get into it. Terrible premise for a movie. But that was the last film I was on. And I was like a part of like the COVID team. Like it was weird. But yeah, man, it's such a wild little industry to be in, you know? Like I got hit on by a dude. When I was on that last movie, I got hit on by some guy. And I realized, right? Because at this time, this is years ago, and you know, the Diddy thing isn't out yet. And you know, this is a thing that they do, but you don't see it until it actually confronts you. So this dude keeps hitting on me, like real open, like if I was a lady and he was a straight guy, people would be like, oh, we're going to call the police on you. This guy, he didn't touch me or anything, because he would have got hurt. It would have been real bad. Because, you know, he's soft. You know, I hurt him. So this guy's hitting on me, constantly hitting on me. And then the movie ends. And because there's a whole registry of everyone you're working with, because you got to be able to communicate. So there's phone numbers and emails and everything, from director all the way to the bottom. So he messages me and he's like, I would love to see you again, and I would love to work with you. And I realized, I didn't do it, obviously. I realized, see, this is the point. This is where it happens. If I said yes and I was one of these meat puppets and I just went through and I just did whatever he wanted to do, I'd still be working to this day. I'd probably be a damn actor by now. Because you know what happens when it comes to this weird stuff that they do? You know, talking about how it's all real cultish. You know what ends up happening is that when you get put into one of those situations where you're, as Patrice O'Neill put it, walking into a dark room backwards. When you're doing that type of thing, right? It gets around and people start to realize, oh, that's one of those people I can do that with. I can hold a part or a role or a job or a salary over this person and they'll do whatever I want. It starts to get around. And I realize, I'm like, if I did that with that dude, and I don't do stuff like that, obviously, dudes, like what? If I did that, I would have started working. He would probably be a good friend to me and we would be working together. And if I wanted to move up, he would help me and I'd find someone else who was the same way. You know what I mean? You get passed around. So when you see these Hollywood people is what I'm getting at. When you see them at the top of the top, buddy, they got passed around. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. They like it's a weird industry, man. It's a real weird industry. You gotta stay away from it. That's why I made the shirts. I don't have one here that said "Soul Not for Sale." I would wear those shirts when I was on set. I would always wear one of those shirts that said "Soul Not for Sale." It's a little message just going out there. But man, it's real. All the theories, all the tinfoil stuff you hear when it comes to that industry, it's all real. It's all real. 100%. And like Cat Williams said, their job is to make it seem like it's not real. What did he say? He said, after they sell their soul, their one job is to make it seem like they didn't sell their soul. Because if you knew if you knew everything I just said, if you knew that's how it went down, and if you knew they sold their soul, they got passed around, all this stuff, you would veer away from it. But because it looks like it's just based on their merit and their charisma and et cetera, because it seems like that, that's something to aspire to. It seems like it's just all hard work, so that's something to aspire to. But if you really knew what it was, you'd probably never watch a movie again. You know? Probably wouldn't watch any shows, any movies. It's nasty, man. Absolutely nasty. Anyway. I don't know. I just wanted to rant about that for a minute. I saw that video of Adam Carolla, and I was like, he's so right, man. That is how it works. And I have that experience. It's just, it's way more, you can find way more fulfillment and respect. I've done both, working in a factory than working in that industry, because you're always bowing down in a very, very, it's a very, very weird way. I don't even know what word to use to describe it, but you're always groveling almost. It's a weird way. Everything's fake. And you're just trying to get the next gig. You know, it's, at least when you have a job at a factory, you're just waking up every day, you're working, and yeah, it's like your manager might suck and this and that, but you don't have to bow down in the same way. You don't have to be an ass kisser if you don't want to. Whether you're good or not, in Hollywood, you have to be an ass kisser. Anyways, guys, that's it. I'm out.